Hello fellow astrologers, and welcome back to the Astrology Keyring Fundamental Series. In this video, D16, we're going to talk about what are the dignities. And D16 is the final video in the D series. We're going to sum up what we were talking about all those times we were going over all these planets and luminaries. We were discussing what the rulers, exalted, detriment, and fall were for all of these. We're going to get into that today. First, I'm going to read from these paragraphs and go over some of this stuff. When we're done, we'll come back and we'll go over and read the 4 essential dignities and talk a little bit about what all the dignities are for the planets. We'll just touch on them. So let's go ahead and read these paragraphs here. In astrology, dignities describe how effectively a planet can express its nature depending on the sign it occupies. Each planet has certain signs where it operates smoothly and others where it faces tension. These relationships help astrologers gauge whether a planet acts with ease and support or must work through friction and adaptation. Understanding dignities adds nuance to interpretation. A planet in a sign that supports its nature tends to express itself cleanly and confidently, while one in a sign at odds with its nature may feel muted, conflicted, or indirect. The main categories are rulership, also known as domicile, exaltation, detriment, and fall. A planet in rulership is at home, able to act naturally and with authority, like Venus in Libra or Saturn in Capricorn. Exaltation enhances a planet's qualities, often bringing out its best traits in an elevated way, such as the Sun in Aries. Detriments occur when a planet is in a sign opposite its ruler, indicating that it must navigate unfamiliar territories, i.e., Mars in Libra. Fall is opposite the exaltation, where the planet's usual strengths are dampened, like Mars in Cancer or the Sun in Libra. However, these placements should never be taken for granted. A planet in rulership or exaltation can be underutilized if a person relies on it too passively, letting the natural talent stagnate. Likewise, a planet in detriment or fall is not doomed. It can be strengthened through awareness, discipline, and experience, often producing more refined, intentional expression than easy placements. Dignities show potential, not fixed outcome. They reveal where energies flow smoothly and where growth is required, offering a richer, more dynamic picture of the chart. I know this reading got a little bit longer than normal because I really want to touch on this because I think dignities is something that's not touched on enough. A lot of people will talk about, oh, well, there's no such thing as a planet having problems or a planet being better in a sign than another. Well, see, so yes, naturally it can work out. Naturally, it could be a little bit more difficult or challenging, but that doesn't mean that you can't overcome it. That's one of the things I wanted to make sure to put in here at the last paragraph when I talk about how you can overcome your fall or your detriment. I've got some falls and some detriments in my chart, but I've had to learn how to overcome most of them. I'm still working on some of them, but that's a part of life. Remember, life's not about just sitting around and experiencing it. It's also about learning how to overcome adversity to make your achievements, to have some success in life. Because if you just fall into everything, really what success are you really having? If you didn't really go out there and work towards achieving it, especially if you have something like a fall or a detriment holding you back, then that, in those cases, it's showing you had to work even harder to really overcome some things. And it should be an example for people. Okay, let's touch on what the 4 essential dignities are. I'll hit them. Here's the main ones. Rulership, domicile. It's also domicile. A planet in the sign it rules is home base. Here it functions most naturally. Detriment is a planet in the sign opposite its rulership where its expression is weakened or conflicted. Exaltation, a sign where a planet is honored or uplifted, allowing it to express its strength in refined or elevated ways. The Fall, a sign opposite exaltation, where the planet's energy may feel weakened, challenged, or unstable. Now remember, when you're looking at charts when people have some of these things, just because they have a lot of things in their rulership doesn't mean they're going to do real well. Maybe they might have some problems, take it for granted, and become static. And also, at the same time, when people who have their detriment or fall, I mean, I have a Capricorn moon. It's probably one of the worst positions you can have for a moon. But I still learn to overcome a lot of my insensitivities. Because in your moon, your deeper side, you want to be a little bit more sensitive. As a Capricorn moon, you have to learn sensitivity, which is something I had to overcome for many decades. And I still have my moments where I miss things because of my level of insensitivity. But it still doesn't mean I can't overcome things. Because if you look on all the American currency, most of those men on them all have Capricorn moons. And they all overcame adversity themselves. So the moral story is, don't be too proud of your rulership or exaltations, and don't frown or poo-poo too much on people's detriments and falls, because you can always overcome and you can always take for granted. But that doesn't mean sometimes when you have these things that you can't really shine, and if you have these, that you can't really turn into a terrible person or bring out some of the terrible traits in some of these things. Now again, these are some of the generational planets. They're not really talking about you so much. Like, for instance, I was born in Libra and Pluto. You know, I'm a Gen Xer, and there's a lot that can be said about problems for that whole generation. But it doesn't mean that me as a person necessarily is terrible, but maybe the generation had an issue because it was in one of its weak spots. And that could be said the same for any of these different things. You know, Libra's a sign of the planet of action. The Aries and Scorpio, they're action signs. So is Capricorn. But you know, Libra wants to sit there and talk about it. You know, and Cancer can be just a little too sensitive to act and try to be worried about feelings too much. And these are all things that you have to overcome. Doesn't mean a Cancer Mars can't act and have things happen and do things. It just means it becomes a little bit more of a challenge. Well, that pretty much sums up the dignities. Stay tuned for the next video, which is going to be E0, where we kick off the entire series on houses. We hope you have enjoyed this video from our Astrology Keyring series. If you like the content, please like, follow, and share with your friends. Thank you for watching, and have a blessed journey.